Captain Jake Morrison sat in his command chair, watching the stars drift past on the main screen. The New Horizon had been exploring the edge of human space for 3 months now. It was quiet work, mapping new systems and looking for signs of life. Most days were boring, but Jake liked it that way. Boring meant safe. "Captain, we're getting something strange on the long-range sensors," said Communications Officer Lisa Park. She was young, maybe 25, with short brown hair and bright eyes that lit up whenever she found something interesting. Jake turned toward her station. "What kind of strange?" "It looks like a distress signal, but the pattern is unlike anything in our database. It's coming from about 2 light years away, right at the edge of our sensor range." Chief Engineer Ben Rodriguez looked up from his console. Ben was a big man with rough hands and a gentle voice. He had been working on ships for 20 years and could fix anything that broke. "Could be equipment failure, Captain." "Sometimes old?" "Satellites send out weird signals when they start dying." Jake nodded. "Maybe, but we should check it out." "That's what we're here for." He turned back to Lisa. "Can you clean up the signal? Get a better read on it?" Lisa worked at her station for several minutes. Her fingers danced across the controls as she tried different filters and settings. Finally, she looked up with a frown. "I've never seen anything like this, Captain. The signal is definitely artificial, but it's not following any communication protocol I know. It's almost like music, but with patterns that repeat." "Music?" Jake raised an eyebrow. "Not exactly music, but it has rhythm and harmony. Like someone is singing, but in a language made of sound waves instead of words." Dr. Amy Chun stepped forward from her science station. Amy was quiet most of the time, but she got excited when they found something new. Her black hair was always pulled back in a tight bun, and she wore thick glasses that made her eyes look bigger than they were. "Captain, if this is what I think it is, we might be looking at first contact with an alien species. The mathematical patterns in the signal suggest intelligence." Jake felt his heart beat faster. First contact. Every explorer dreamed of it, but few ever experienced it. Set course for the signal source. Maximum speed. The New Horizon changed direction and jumped into hyperspace. The journey took 18 hours. When they dropped back into normal space, what they found made everyone on the bridge stop and stare. A massive ship floated in the darkness ahead of them. It was easily 5 times the size of the New Horizon, but it looked broken and sad. The hull was a dark gray color with long scars running across its surface. Some sections were missing entirely, showing the damaged interior. No lights were visible anywhere on the ship. "My God," whispered Amy, "it's beautiful, even damaged." The ship had a flowing design that reminded Jake of a seashell or a piece of coral. It was organic looking, as if it had grown instead of being built. Strange crystals jutted out from various points on the hull, and some of them still glowed with a faint blue light. "I'm detecting life signs," reported Commander Alex Torres from the tactical station. Alex was Jake's second in command, a serious man who always thought about danger first. "The readings are strange, but there are definitely living beings aboard." "That ship, the distress signal is coming from there," added Lisa. "It's much stronger now. And Captain, I'm starting to understand some of the patterns. I think they're trying to communicate." Jake made his decision. "Open a channel. Let's see if we can talk to them." Lisa worked at her console. "Channel open, Captain." "Unknown vessel. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the United Earthship New Horizon. We received your distress signal and have come to offer assistance. Please respond." For a long moment there was only silence. Then the speakers filled with the most beautiful sound Jake had ever heard. It was like a chorus of crystal bells mixed with the sound of wind through trees. The harmonies rose and fell in complex patterns that seemed to speak directly to his heart. "It's responding," said Lisa with wonder in her voice. "The signal is changing, becoming more complex. I think it's trying to match our communication frequency." Amy was recording everything. "Captain, this is incredible." The mathematical complexity of these sounds suggests a highly advanced intelligence. They're not just making noise, they're trying to learn our language in real time. After 10 minutes of back-and-forth communication, the alien sounds began to change. Slowly, words began to emerge from the musical patterns. The voice was strange, like someone speaking while humming, but the words were clear. Greetings, beings. Oh, the speaking words, we are ... grateful for your presence. We are ... the Villani, we are ... in great need. Jake felt chills run down his spine. Hello, Villani, we are humans. We want to help you. What do you need? Our ship is dying. We are ... the last of our people. We carry the memories of our world, but we are ... dying hunted. The destroyers ... die come for us. They will not ... us live. The bridge was silent. Everyone was listening to the sad musical voice of the alien. Who is hunting you? Jake asked gently. The hegemony. They destroyed ... our world. They kill all who do not serve them. We escape ... but they follow. They will ... find us soon? We ask ... only that you leave. Before they come, we do not wish your death on our account. Amy stepped forward. Captain, we can't just leave them here to die. Alex shook his head. Captain, we don't know what we're dealing with. If there's a hostile force out there, we need to report back to Earth Command first. Jake looked at the damaged alien ship on the screen. He thought about the beautiful, sad voice of the Villani. He thought about his duty to his crew and to humanity. But mostly he thought about what it would mean to be the last of his kind, alone in the darkness, waiting to die. Villani ship, this is Captain Morrison. We would like to come aboard and meet you face to face. We want to help you and we want to hear your story. Will you allow us to dock with your ship? The musical voice came back, filled with surprise and something that might have been hope. You would risk yourselves ... for strangers? We do not ... understand, but we are grateful. Yes ... please come. We will prepare to receive you. But know this ... to help us means certain death. The hegemony ... shows no mercy. Jake stood up from his command chair. Prepare a boarding party. Amy, Ben, and Alex, you're with me. Lisa, monitor all frequencies. If anything shows up on sensors, I want to know immediately. As they prepared to meet the aliens, Jake wondered if he was making the right choice. But when he heard that sad, beautiful voice again, he knew he couldn't turn away. Whatever the Villani were, whatever they had been through, they deserved a chance to live. The New Horizon moved closer to the alien ship, and Jake Morrison prepared to make first contact with a dying race. The boarding party walked through the airlock and into the alien ship. Jake Morrison had seen many strange things in his years as a space captain, but nothing had prepared him for this. The walls were made of what looked like living crystal, glowing with soft blue light. The corridors curved and flowed like the inside of a seashell. Incredible, whispered Amy Chun, her voice full of wonder. She pulled out her scanner and started taking readings. Captain, these walls are actually alive. Not like plants or animals, but like a completely different kind of life. Ben Rodriguez was looking at the ship's systems. The engineering is beyond anything I've ever seen. They're using crystalline structures to channel energy. It's like the whole ship is one giant computer. They followed the glowing path deeper into the ship. The Villani had said they would meet them in the central chamber. As they walked, Jake noticed that the walls were covered in beautiful patterns that seemed to shift and change as he looked at them. Those are our memories, came a voice from ahead. It was the same musical sound they had heard over the radio, but now it was coming from a tall figure standing in the corridor. The Villani was almost 7 feet tall and made of what looked like living blue crystal. Its body was shaped like a human, but more graceful, with long arms and a face that seemed to be carved from sapphire. I am Kithara, the alien said, its voice creating beautiful harmonies in the air around them. I am the keeper of our memories, the last elder of the Villani people. Welcome to our ship, humans. We are honored by your presence. Jake stepped forward and extended his hand. I'm Captain Jake Morrison. Thank you for allowing us aboard your ship. Kithara looked at the offered hand for a moment, then reached out and touched it gently. Where their skin met, Jake felt a warm, tingling sensation. This is how your people greet each other. It is strange, but not unpleasant. Come, let me show you what we are and why we flee. They entered a large circular chamber filled with dozens of Villani. Each one was slightly different. Some were taller, some shorter, some with different colored crystal formations. But all of them were beautiful in their own way. The walls of the chamber were covered in complex patterns that glowed and shifted constantly. We are the last 312 of our people, Cathara explained. Once we numbered in the billions. We lived on a world of crystal forest and singing mountains. We were peaceful, creating art and music and growing our gardens of living stone. The patterns on the walls began to change, showing images of the Villani homeworld. It was beautiful beyond description, cities made of crystal that reached toward the sky, gardens where crystal trees grew in perfect harmony, and Villani families singing together in the sunlight. Then the hegemony came, Cathara continued, and the images on the walls darkened. They wanted our world for its crystal formations. They said we could serve them as slaves or we could die. We chose to fight, but we are not warriors. We are artists and gardeners and singers. The wall showed the destruction of the Villani world. Great ships with dark hulls rained fire from the sky. Crystal cities crumbled and burned. Millions of Villani tried to run, but there was nowhere to hide. Most of our people died defending our world, Cathara said, its voice filled with sadness. A few hundred of us escaped in this ship. We carry with us the genetic patterns of our entire species and all the memories of our civilization. We are the last hope for the Villani people. Amy was recording everything with her scanner. Cathara, this is incredible. Your people's history, your culture, it's all here? Yes, but not for long. Our ship is dying. The crystals that power it are cracking. We estimate we have perhaps 10 days before all systems fail. Cathara looked at Jake with eyes that seemed to hold ancient wisdom. Captain Morrison, we thank you for your kindness, but you must leave now. The hegemony has been following us for 3 cycles of your year. They will find us soon, and when they do, they will destroy anyone who tries to help us. Jake looked around at the peaceful aliens surrounding them. He thought about his crew back on the New Horizon, about his duty to keep them safe. But he also thought about what it would mean to let an entire species die when he might be able to help. Cathara, what if we escorted you to Earth? Our world has defenses, and our people might be able to help repair your ship. The alien elder's crystal face seemed to light up with hope, then dim again. Captain, your kindness honors us, but the hegemony is too strong. They have conquered 1,000 worlds. Their ships are massive and their weapons terrible. Your ship is small and built for exploration, not war. Maybe, Jake said, but we have to try. I won't leave you here to die, Alex Torres stepped forward. Captain, we should contact Earth Command first. Let them know what we're dealing with, Jake nodded. Good idea. But we're not abandoning the Villani. They returned to the New Horizon. And Jake immediately sent a message to Earth Command. While they waited for a response, Ben Rodriguez worked with Villani engineers to try to stabilize their ship's power systems. The crystal technology was completely different from anything human. But Ben was determined to help. Amy spent hours with Cathara, learning about Villani culture and history. She was amazed by their peaceful nature and their incredible artistic achievements. They're the most advanced species I've ever encountered, she told Jake. Not in terms of weapons or military technology, but in art, music, and philosophy. They've created beauty that humans can barely understand. Lisa Park worked with the Villani communications specialists, learning to interpret their musical language. She found that each Villani had their own unique harmonic signature, like a fingerprint made of sound. 3 days into their journey toward Earth, Lisa's console started beeping urgently. Captain, I'm getting something on long-range sensors. Multiple contacts coming in fast. Jake felt his stomach drop. How many? 12 ships, sir. They're big, much bigger than us, and they're moving faster than anything I've ever seen. Kithara's voice came over the intercom from the Villani ship. Captain Morrison, those are hegemony vessels. They have found. U.S., you must leave now, while you still can. Jake looked at the tactical display. 12 massive ships were approaching, their hulls dark and threatening. Alex Torres was running combat scenarios. But the results were always the same. The New Horizon wouldn't last 5 minutes against even one of those ships. "Captain," Alex said quietly, "we need to run, now. We can't fight those ships." Jake stared at the screen, watching the enemy fleet get closer. He thought about his crew, about their families back on Earth. He thought about the Villani, preparing to die alone in the darkness. He thought about what it meant to be human, to make choices that defined who they were as a species. "Open a channel to Earth Command," he said finally. "Tell them what we found and what we're facing. Then send a message to every human ship in this sector. Tell them the Villani are under our protection." Alex stared at him. "Captain, you're talking about starting a war we can't win." Jake looked at his old friend and smiled sadly. "Maybe, but I'd rather die trying to save them than live knowing I walked away." The hegemony fleet was getting closer. Soon, they would have to make their choice, run and live, or stay and fight an impossible battle. But for the first time in 3 days, Jake Morrison felt at peace with his decision. The Villani would not die alone. The hegemony fleet dropped out of hyperspace like a pack of hunting wolves. Each ship was massive, dark gray with red markings that looked like scars across their hulls. They moved with deadly purpose, spreading out in a formation that would surround both the New Horizon and the Villani ship. Jake Morrison stood on his bridge, watching the enemy ships on the main screen. His hands were steady, but his heart was beating fast. Beside him, Alex Torres was frantically running last-minute calculations on his tactical computer. "Captain, their lead ship is 3 times our size," Alex reported. "Their weapons are showing energy readings that are off the charts. One shot from their main guns could cut us in half." Jake nodded calmly. "What about their shields?" "Stronger than anything we've ever seen. Our weapons might not even scratch them." Lisa Park looked up from her communication station. "Captain, we're getting a message from the lead hegemony ship." "Put it on screen." The main display changed to show the bridge of the alien warship. The creature sitting in the command chair was unlike anything Jake had ever seen. It was tall and thin, with gray skin that looked like old leather. Its eyes were black and cold, and when it spoke, its voice was harsh and cruel. "I am Overlord. Zextar of the Hegemony 4th Fleet," the alien said. "You will move your primitive vessel away from our targets immediately. The Villani are criminals who have stolen hegemony property. They will be destroyed." Jake took a deep breath and stepped forward. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the United Earthship New Horizon. The Villani are peaceful beings who have asked for our protection. We will not allow you to harm them." Zextar's face twisted into what might have been a smile. "Protection? You are one small ship against 12 of our finest warships. Your species is young and foolish. Stand aside or be destroyed with the Crystal Singers." "I don't think so," Jake said quietly. "The Villani are under the protection of humanity. If you want to hurt them, you'll have to go through us first." The Overlord laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "So be it. You will serve as an example to other species who think they can interfere with hegemony business." The transmission ended. Jake turned to his crew. "All hands battle stations. Alex, position us between the hegemony ships and the Villani. Ben, give me everything you've got from the engines. Lisa, open a channel to Earth Command and broadcast everything that happens here." "Captain," Alex said quietly, "we can't win this." "Fight." Jake looked at his old friend and smiled. "Maybe not. But we can make them remember us." The New Horizon moved to shield the damaged Villani ship. It was like a small dog protecting an injured bird from a pack of wolves. The hegemony ships began to close in, their weapons charging with deadly energy. "Incoming missiles," Alex reported. 24 of them. Evasive maneuvers," Jake ordered. "Return fire." The New Horizon twisted and turned, trying to avoid the incoming weapons. Most of the missiles missed, but 3 hit their shields. The entire ship shook and lights flickered on the bridge. "Shields down to 60%, Alex called out. "We can't take many more hits like that." The human ship fired back, its weapons blazing. The energy beams hit the lead hegemony ship, but barely scratched its shields. It was like throwing stones at a mountain. Their shields are holding, Alex reported. Our weapons aren't strong enough. More missiles came at them. This time 5 hit their target. The New Horizons shields collapsed completely, and the ship's hull began to crack under the strain. Hull breach on deck 3, Ben called out from engineering. I'm sealing it now, but we won't survive another hit like that. Jake watched the hegemony ships moving closer. They were taking their time, like cats playing with a mouse. They knew the humans couldn't hurt them, so they were enjoying the hunt. Captain, Lisa said urgently, I'm getting something from the Villani ship. They're broadcasting on all frequencies. What kind of broadcast? It's their song, Captain. But it's different from before. It's sad and beautiful, like they're saying. Goodbye. The sound filled the bridge of the New Horizon. It was the most heartbreaking thing Jake had ever heard. The Villani were singing their death song, knowing that the end was near. But there was no fear in their voices, only acceptance, and a strange kind of peace. They're singing for us too, Amy said softly. She had been monitoring the alien transmissions. They're thanking us for trying to save them? They're saying that no one has ever shown them such kindness. The song grew stronger, with more Villani voices joining in. Each voice was unique, but together they created a harmony that seemed to touch something deep in the human heart. Even the hardened crew members on the bridge had tears in their eyes. Lisa, make sure that transmission reaches Earth, Jake ordered. I want everyone to hear what we're fighting for. The hegemony ships fired again. This time the New Horizon couldn't dodge. Energy beams tore through the ship's hull, causing explosions throughout the vessel. The lights went out and emergency power kicked in. Engine room is hit, Ben reported. We're losing power to the weapons. Life support is failing. Jake looked around his damaged bridge. His crew was hurt, his ship was dying, and the enemy was closing in for the final kill. But the Villani were still singing, their voices carrying hope and beauty into the darkness. Any word from Earth Command? He asked. Lisa shook her head. They're too far away, Captain. Even if they sent help now, it would take days to reach us. Another wave of missiles hit the New Horizon. This time, the ship didn't just shake, it spun out of control. Warning alarms blared from every station. The main screen flickered and went dark. That's it, Alex said grimly. We're finished, one more hit and we're gone. Jake looked at the tactical display. The hegemony ships were moving into position for the final attack. Their weapons were charging, ready to destroy both the New Horizon and the Villani ship. But something was happening. Lisa was staring at her communications console with wide eyes. Captain, I'm getting signals from all over human space. Hundreds of them. Ships are moving toward us. What ships? All kinds, sir. Cargo haulers, mining vessels, passenger liners. Even some private yachts. They're all heading this way. Jake frowned. That's impossible. It would take days for ships to reach us from the nearest system. No, sir. They're already here. They're dropping out of hyperspace right now. The main screen flickered back to life, showing the space around them. Jake couldn't believe what he was seeing. Ships were appearing. Everywhere, dozens of them, then hundreds. They were civilian vessels, not military ships, but they were coming to help. My God, Alex whispered. They heard the song. They came to fight. The Villani song was still playing, broadcast across all human communication channels. It had reached Earth and every human colony in just a few hours. The story of the peaceful crystal beings and humanity's desperate stand had spread like wildfire, and humanity had responded. Jake watched as more ships appeared. Cargo haulers with reinforced hulls. Mining ships built to work in asteroid fields. Passenger liners with powerful engines. Even small personal ships that had no business in a battle zone. This is impossible. Overlord's Xtar's voice came over the radio. Where are all these ships coming from? Jake smiled for the first time since the battle began. They're coming from everywhere, Xtar. They heard the Villani singing, and they came to help. The hegemony overlord's voice was confused and angry. This makes no sense. Why would your people risk their lives for aliens they have never met? Jake looked at the growing fleet of human ships surrounding them. Each one was small and weak compared to the hegemony warships, but together they formed a wall of determination that stretched across the stars. Because that's what humans do, he said simply. We protect those who can't protect themselves. The battle was about to begin again, but this time the humans weren't alone. The first civilian ship to reach the battle zone was a cargo hauler called the Lucky Strike. It was old and beaten up, with rust stains on its hull and mismatched patches where repairs had been made over the years. But it flew straight toward the hegemony fleet without hesitation. "This is Captain Maya Santos of the cargo vessel Lucky Strike," came a voice over the radio. "We heard the song, Morrison. We came to help." Jake Morrison watched in amazement as more ships appeared. A mining vessel called the Rockbreaker dropped out of hyperspace, followed by a passenger liner named the Stardancer. Then came dozens more small freight ships, personal yachts, even a few old fishing boats that had been converted for space travel. "Captain," Lisa Park said from her communications station, "I'm getting messages from all over human space. Ships are leaving every port, heading this way. The Villani song has reached every human world." The hegemony ships had stopped their attack, confused by the sudden appearance of so many human vessels. Overlord Zextar S. voice came over the radio, angry and frustrated. "What is this?" he demanded. "These are not warships. They are civilian vessels with no weapons. Why are they here?" Jake smiled as he watched more ships arrive. "Because that's what humans do, Zextar. When someone needs help, we come running." The civilian ships began to spread out, forming a protective ring around the New Horizon and the Villani ship. They weren't military vessels, but they were determined to help. Maya Santos took charge of coordinating the civilian fleet. "All right, everyone," she broadcasted on the general frequency. "We may not be warships, but we've got numbers and we've got heart. Let's show these bullies what humans are made of." The hegemony ships resumed their attack, firing at the civilian vessels. But the humans had advantages that Zextar didn't understand. They knew their own ships better than anyone else, and they were willing to take risks that no military commander would consider. The mining ship, Rockbreaker, charged straight at a hegemony warship. Its captain, an old miner named Pete Coleman, had spent 30 years breaking apart asteroids. He knew how to use his ship's reinforced hull as a weapon. "Ramming speed," Pete announced calmly, as if he were heading to the grocery store instead of into battle. The Rockbreaker slammed into the hegemony ship's shields. The impact didn't destroy the enemy vessel, but it did something unexpected. It overloaded their shield generators. For a few seconds, the warship was vulnerable. "Now," shouted Maya Santos, "hit them while their shields are down." 3 cargo haulers opened fire with their small defensive weapons. The energy beams weren't powerful, but they were enough to damage the unshielded hegemony ship. Explosions bloomed across its hull. "Impossible," Zextar snarled. "Your weapons are too weak to penetrate our armor." "Maybe," said Maya, "but we've got a lot of them." More civilian ships were arriving every minute. The passenger liner Stardancer had converted its cargo bays into makeshift weapons platforms. A fleet of small courier ships darted between the larger vessels like angry wasps, too small and fast for the hegemony gunners to hit. Jake watched the battle with growing hope. The civilian ships were using tactics that no military academy would teach. They were unpredictable, desperate, and completely fearless. The hegemony ships were designed to fight other warships, not swarms of determined civilians. "Ben, what's our status?" Jake asked his chief engineer. "Life support is holding, Captain. I've got partial power to the weapons and engines. We can still fight." "Good, Alex. Coordinate with the civilian fleet. Let's see if we can take down one of those big ships." The New Horizon joined the swirling battle around the hegemony fleet. The human ships moved like a school of fish, working together without formal organization. When one ship was in trouble, others would move to help. When they saw an opportunity, they would strike together. Captain Bill Murphy of the freight ship Iron Horse had an idea. "Maya, what if we use the old asteroid herding trick?" Remember how we used to move the big rocks? I'm listening, Bill. We get 6 or 7 ships with tractor beams. Lock onto one of their big ships and start pulling in different directions. Their shields can take weapon fire, but can they handle being twisted apart? Maya grinned. Let's find out. All ships with tractor beams form up on the Iron Horse. 7 civilian ships surrounded one of the smaller hegemony vessels. Their tractor beams locked onto different parts of the enemy ship and began pulling in opposite directions. The alien vessel tried to break free, but the combined force was too strong. It's working, Bill reported. Their hull is starting to crack. The hegemony ship tried to fire at its tormentors, but the human vessels were spread out in all directions. Every time it turned to shoot at one ship, the others pulled harder on its hull. With a sound like breaking glass, the enemy ship split. In half, the 2 pieces spun away into space, leaking atmosphere and debris. First blood to the humans, Maya announced. 11 more to go. But the hegemony wasn't finished. The remaining warships began to focus their fire on the civilian vessels. The humans were brave, but they weren't invincible. The cargo hauler Steady Eddie took a direct hit from a hegemony main gun and exploded in a ball of fire. Eddie's gone, someone reported over the radio. The channel was quiet for a moment as the humans mourned their loss. Then Maya Santos spoke again, her voice hard with determination. They killed good people. Let's make them pay for it. The civilian ships pressed their attack with renewed fury. They swarmed the hegemony vessels like angry bees, attacking from all sides. Some ships rammed the enemy, sacrificing themselves to bring down their shields. Others used their cargo as weapons, dumping loads of metal, ore, and debris into the path of enemy ships. The passenger liner Stardancer had a different approach. Its captain, a young woman named Susan Clark, had filled the ship's luxury suites with volunteers who wanted to help. They weren't soldiers, but they were human, and they were angry. We're going to try something crazy, Susan announced. Everyone, hold on. The Stardancer accelerated toward the largest hegemony ship, its engines pushed beyond their safety limits. At the last second, Susan fired the ship's emergency thrusters, spinning the liner like a top. The spinning ship crashed into the enemy vessel's weapon arrays, destroying most of its guns. Susan, are you okay? Maya called out. We're alive, Susan replied. But we won't be doing that again anytime soon. The battle continued for hours. More human ships arrived constantly, joining the fight without hesitation. They came from mining colonies, farming worlds, research stations, and trading posts. Each ship brought its own crew of volunteers who had heard the Villani song and couldn't ignore it. Overlord Zextar was becoming desperate. His fleet was designed to destroy planets and conquer star systems, not to fight swarms of civilian vessels. Every time he destroyed one human ship, 2 more would take its place. This is madness, he transmitted to his remaining ships. Why do they keep coming? What do they gain from protecting these crystal singers? Jake Morrison answered him. We don't gain anything, Zextar. We're not doing this for profit or territory. We're doing it because it's right. Right? The Overlord's voice was filled with confusion. You are dying for strangers. Your species will be weakened by these losses. This makes no strategic sense. Maybe not, Jake replied. But it makes us human. The Villani song continued to play across all frequencies, its beautiful harmonies mixing with the sounds of battle. More human ships kept arriving, forming an ever-growing shield around the alien vessel. The hegemony had come to destroy the last of the Villani, but instead they had found something they had never encountered before. A species that would fight to the death to protect the innocent dot in the center of the battle, surrounded by hundreds of human ships. The Villani vessel continued to sing. Kithara and his people watched in amazement as strangers sacrificed their lives to keep them safe. They had thought they were alone in the universe, but they had found something precious. The protection of humanity's unexpected shield. The battle was far from over, but the tide was turning. The humans had shown that sometimes the greatest strength comes not from superior weapons or technology, but from the willingness to stand up for what is right, no matter the cost. The battle had been raging for 6 hours when the official Earth Defense Fleet finally arrived. Admiral Grace Hamilton brought 12 military warships, each one armed with the latest human weapons and technology. But when she saw the scene before her, she realized that the real battle had already been won. Hundreds of civilian ships surrounded the hegemony fleet. The alien warships were battered and damaged, their dark hulls scarred by countless impacts. 3 of the hegemony vessels had been destroyed, and the rest were struggling to fight off the swarms of human ships that attacked them from every direction. "My God," Admiral Hamilton whispered as she watched a mining ship ram a hegemony cruiser. "They actually did it. The civilians are winning." Jake Morrison's voice came over the radio, tired but determined. "Admiral, good to see you. We could use some help finishing this." "Captain Morrison, what's your status?" "The New Horizon is badly damaged but still fighting. The Villani ship is safe in the center of our formation. We've lost maybe 50 civilian vessels, but more keep arriving every hour." Admiral Hamilton looked at her tactical display. The human-civilian fleet now numbered over 800 ships. They came from every corner of human space, farmers and miners, traders and tourists, all united by the simple desire to protect an innocent species from extinction. "All Earth Defense Fleet ships," the Admiral commanded, "join the civilian formation. Protect the Villani at all costs." The military ships moved into position alongside the civilian vessels. The contrast was striking, sleek warships flying next to battered cargo haulers, advanced fighters escorting old passenger liners. But they all flew together, united in purpose. Overlord Zextar was running out of options. His fleet had been reduced to 8 ships, and they were all damaged. The human swarm showed no signs of stopping. For every ship he destroyed, 3 more would take its place. "This is impossible," he transmitted to his remaining captains. "They have no central command, no battle plan. How are they coordinating this attack?" The answer came from an unexpected source. Kithara, the Villani elder, spoke on the general frequency. For all to hear, his musical voice was calm and wise. "Overlord Zextar, you do not understand because you have never seen it before. These humans do not fight for conquest or territory. They fight for something greater, for the idea that all peaceful beings deserve to live free. They do not need a central command because they all share the same heart." "Impossible," Zextar snarled. "All species fight for dominance. It is the way of the universe." "No," Kithara replied, "it is your way. But these humans have shown us a different path. They risk their lives for strangers because they believe it is right. This is something the hegemony will never understand." The battle continued, but the outcome was no longer in doubt. The hegemony ships were surrounded and outnumbered. Every time they tried to break free, more human ships would appear to block their path. Maya Santos coordinated the civilian fleet with the skill of a veteran admiral. "All cargo ships form up for another ramming run. Miners target their weapon systems, passenger liners use your tractor beams to hold them in place." The humans attacked in waves, each one carefully planned to cause maximum damage. The hegemony ships were powerful, but they couldn't be everywhere at once. The human fleet was like water, flowing around obstacles and finding every weakness. Admiral Hamilton watched the battle with growing admiration for the civilian crews. "I've never seen anything like this," she told her officers. "They're fighting like they've been training together for years." "Admiral," her communications officer reported, "we're getting messages from all over human space. More ships are still coming. The Villani song has reached the outer colonies. Everyone wants to help." On the main screen, Admiral Hamilton could see new ships dropping out of hyperspace every few minutes. The human response was growing stronger, not weaker. Word of the battle was spreading faster than the hegemony could possibly have imagined. "Overlord." Zextar made one last desperate attempt to break through the human lines. He ordered his remaining ships to focus all their firepower on a single section of the civilian fleet, hoping to punch a hole through their formation. The attack succeeded in destroying a dozen human ships, but the gap was filled immediately by new arrivals. For every ship the hegemony destroyed, 5 more humans came to take their place. How many ships do they have? Zextar demanded. Jake Morrison answered him. All of them, Zextar. Every human ship in the galaxy is coming here. You're not just fighting one ship or one fleet. You're fighting all of humanity? The Overlord realized that he was facing something beyond his understanding. In all his years of conquest, he had never encountered a species that would unite so completely to protect strangers. The humans weren't fighting for resources or territory, they were fighting for an idea. This cannot be, he transmitted to his fleet. Retreat! All ships retreat immediately! The remaining hegemony vessels tried to break away from the battle, but the human ships followed them. The civilians didn't have the speed to catch the enemy warships, but the military vessels did. Let them go, Admiral Hamilton ordered. We've made our point. The hegemony fleet jumped into hyperspace, leaving the battlefield to the humans and Villani. As the enemy ships disappeared, a cheer went up from the civilian fleet. They had done the impossible. They had defeated a superior enemy. Through sheer determination and courage, Jake Morrison sat in his damaged command chair, hardly believing what had happened. Lisa, open a channel to all ships. Channel open, Captain. This is Jake Morrison to all human vessels. You came when strangers needed help. You risked your lives for people you had never met. Today, you showed the galaxy what it means to be human. The Villani are safe, and they're safe because of you. The response was immediate. Hundreds of voices answered from across the fleet, civilian and military alike. They had won not through superior firepower, but through something much more powerful, the human capacity for compassion. 5 years later, Jake Morrison stood in the crystal gardens of New Villani, the settlement that had been built for the refugees on Earth's moon. The Villani had thrived under human protection, using their advanced knowledge to help heal Earth's environment while rebuilding their own culture. Kithara approached, his crystalline form reflecting the light of Earth in the distance. Captain Morrison, we have been discussing something important with your scientists. We would like to share our genetic restoration technology with humanity. That's very generous, Jake said. But you don't owe us anything. We owe you everything, Kithara replied. But that is not why we offer this gift. We offer it because we have learned something from humans. True strength comes not from taking but from giving, not from conquest but from protection. Jake watched. Human children playing with young Villani in the crystal gardens. The two species had become friends, learning from each other and growing together. What about the hegemony? Jake asked. Will they come back? Kithara's harmonious voice carried a note of certainty. No, word of what happened here has spread. Throughout the galaxy, the hegemony now knows that if they attack any peaceful species, they will face the shield of humanity. They will not make that mistake again. Jake smiled as he watched the sunset reflect off the crystal trees. The Villani had found more than protection. They had found a new home and new friends. And humanity had discovered something about itself, that their greatest strength was not their weapons or their technology, but their willingness to stand up for those who couldn't stand up for themselves. The abandoned race had found shelter. Under humanity's unexpected shield, and in protecting them, humanity had become something greater than they had ever been before.